Ah! Ah! Why did you kick me? It hurts.
The heel of Chukwudi's Italian leather shoe connected with my ribs before I even saw it coming. I crashed against the marble floor of his office reception area. The air knocked from my lungs. Around us, 5 of his construction workers froze mid-conversation, their mouths hanging open in shock. The metallic taste of blood filled my mouth where I'd bitten my tongue. Get out of my sight, Amara. My husband of 12 years spat down at me, his face twisted with a rage I'd never seen before. Coming to my workplace like a mad woman, embarrassing me in front of my staff. I pushed myself up on trembling arms, my cream-colored Ankara dress now smudged with dirt from the construction office floor. Through blurred vision, I could see the workers shifting uncomfortably, some looking away, others pulling out their phones. One man was definitely recording. Chukwudi, I just wanted to talk about About what? He cut me off, his voice rising. About how you refuse to give me peace. About how you question every kobo I spend. That was a lie. A complete fabrication. I had come to his Lagos Island office that Thursday afternoon for one reason only. I had found the bank statements. Transfers of 20 million naira to an account I didn't recognize. Monthly payments to an apartment in Lekki Phase 1 that wasn't ours. And text messages, dozens of them, to someone saved his phone as Engineer Biodun. But Engineer Biodun used heart emojis. Engineers don't send heart emojis to their clients at 2 a.m. This is domestic betrayal at its finest. I whispered, more to myself than to him, as I struggled to my feet. My side screamed with pain where his shoe had connected. Chukwudi's eyes narrowed. What did you say? Before I could respond, a woman's voice cut through the tension like a blade. Baby, is everything all right? I turned toward the voice, and my world tilted on its axis. Standing in the doorway of Chukwudi's private office was Ngozi Okafor, my former university roommate, my maid of honor, the woman I had trusted with every secret of my marriage. She wore a tight pencil skirt and a silk blouse that cost more than my monthly allowance. On her finger glittered a diamond ring that could only mean one thing, but it was what rested on her hip that made my blood run cold. A baby. She was holding a baby boy who couldn't have been more than 8 months old, with Chukwudi's distinctive dimples and honey brown eyes. Ngozi. My voice came out as barely a whisper. She had the decency to look away, adjusting the baby on her hip. But Chukwudi? Chukwudi smiled. It was a cruel, triumphant smile that told me everything I needed to know about the man I'd shared my bed with for over a decade. Meet my son, Chukwudi, he announced to his workers, his chest puffing with pride. My first son, his mother, and I will be doing his naming ceremony next month. You're all invited. The workers erupted in congratulations, apparently having forgotten they'd just witnessed their boss assault his wife. I stood there, my hand pressed against my bruised ribs, staring at the infidelity in marriage playing out before my eyes like a nightmare I couldn't wake from. The cheating spouse, the best friend betrayal, the secret child. It was every woman's worst fear wrapped into one devastating moment. But as I watched Ngozi bounce my husband's illegitimate child on her hip, something inside me didn't break. It hardened. I reached into my handbag and pulled out my phone, my hand surprisingly steady. I opened my camera and took a photo of the 3 of them. Chukwudi, Ngozi, and baby Chukwudi, all framed perfectly in his office doorway. What are you doing? Chukwudi demanded. I looked at him, really looked at him, and smiled for the first time that day. Creating evidence, I said softly, for the divorce lawyer, and the police report for assault. His face went pale. Amara, don't be stupid. Think about our daughters. I am thinking about them. I interrupted, my voice steady despite the pain radiating through my body. I'm thinking about what kind of man I want them to see their father as, and what kind of woman they'll see their mother become. I turned and walked toward the exit, my head held high despite every instinct screaming at me to collapse and cry. But I wouldn't give him that satisfaction. Not here, not in front of his workers and his mistress and his illegitimate son. As I reached the door, I heard Ngozi's voice, trembling now. Chukwudi, she's going to ruin everything. The business, Your reputation. Let her try, he scoffed. She has nothing. No education beyond that useless literature degree. No money of her own. Nowhere to go. She'll be back in a week, begging for forgiveness. I paused at the doorway and looked back one last time. You're right about one thing, I said. I do have a literature degree, which means I know how to write a very compelling story. And Lagos loves a good story about a corrupt contractor who kicks his wife in public. The smile vanished from his face. I walked out into the humid Lagos afternoon, my phone already dialing a number I'd hoped I'd never have to call. Barrister Okonkwo? I said when the lawyer answered. This is Amara Nwosu. I need your help, and I need you to be ruthless. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more gripping stories like this. Have you ever experienced domestic betrayal? Share this with someone who loves real-life drama. Comment below what you think Amara should do next, forgive or fight back. 3 days after the assault, I sat in Barrister Chioma Okonkwo's air-conditioned office in Victoria Island, my ribs still tender beneath the white bandage the doctor had wrapped around my torso. The medical report lay on the polished mahogany desk between us, clinical and damning. Blunt force trauma to the rib cage, contusions consistent with a kick from a shod foot, psychological distress. Mrs. Nwosu, I need you to understand something before we proceed, Barrister Okonkwo said, removing her designer glasses. She was a woman in her 50s, with gray-streaked hair pulled into an elegant bun, and a reputation for destroying unfaithful husbands in court. This won't be easy. Your husband is Chukwudi Nwosu, one of the biggest contractors in Lagos. He has connections to government officials, traditional rulers, even the police commissioner. I know, I replied, my voice steadied and I felt. He'll try to paint you as an unstable wife, a jealous woman who caused a scene at his workplace. His lawyers will dig into everything, your spending, your friendships, even your social media posts. I leaned forward, ignoring the sharp pain in my side. Barrister, did you see the video? She nodded. One of Chukwudi's workers had uploaded the footage to Instagram before being pressured to delete it. But the internet never forgets. I had saved 3 copies, one on my phone, one in my email, and one with my younger sister, Adiz and Enugu. The video showed everything. Chukwudi's foot connecting with my body, my fall, his words, the workers' shocked faces, and in the background, clear as day, Ngozi holding that baby. The video is powerful evidence, Barrister Okonkwo admitted. But we need more. We need financial records, evidence of the affair, proof that he's been diverting marital assets. Can you get me access to his accounts? I reached into my bag and pulled out a thick manila envelope. Inside were photocopies of bank statements, property documents for the Lekki apartment, receipts for jewelry I'd never received, and screenshots of text messages I'd extracted from Chukwudi's laptop before he'd changed all his passwords. What would you do if you walked in on this scene? Hit like if you've been betrayed before, and comment below where you're watching from. The lawyer's eyebrows rose as she flipped through the documents. Mrs. Nwosu, how did you... I've been preparing for this conversation for 6 months, I said quietly. I suspected the infidelity in marriage long, before I had proof. Little things at first, late nights, unexplained withdrawals, perfume that wasn't mine. But I'm not stupid. I needed evidence before I made any moves. Smart woman. Barrister Okonkwo's respect was evident in her tone. Very smart. With this, we can demonstrate financial infidelity alongside the adultery. He's been using marital assets to fund his affair and support his illegitimate child. In Lagos family court, that matters. What about my daughters? I asked, my voice cracking for the first time. Kayamika is 11. Zainab is 9. They worship their father. This was the part that broke me. Not the kick, not the betrayal, not even Ngozi's treachery. It was the thought of my girls, my beautiful, innocent daughters, learning the truth about their father. We'll request full custody with supervised visitation, the lawyer said gently. Given the assault, the judge will likely grant it, at least temporarily. But, Mrs. Nwosu, you need to prepare yourself. Your daughters will be hurt. Your husband will use them as weapons. This is going to get ugly. I nodded, blinking back tears. How ugly. He'll try to take everything. The house in Ikoyi, your car, even the shop you've been running from the garage. He'll claim you're an unfit mother. He'll say you provoked the assault. His family will turn against you. I'm assuming they already have. She was right. Chukwudi's mother had called me twice since the incident, screaming about disrespect and disobedience. His sisters had flooded my WhatsApp with messages about how I was trying to destroy their brother's reputation. Even my own mother, calling from our village in Anambra State, had suggested I apologize and keep my marriage intact. What about Ngozi? I asked, can we go after her too? Barrister Okonkwo smiled, a cold, calculated smile. Alienation of affection is difficult to prove in Nigeria, but we can make her life very uncomfortable, especially if she was involved in the financial deception. Tell me, this apartment in Lekki, is it in her name? I don't know yet, I admitted, but I have someone checking. Someone? My cousin, Emeka. He works at the land registry office. I permitted myself a small smile. Chukwudi isn't the only one with connections. The lawyer leaned back in her chair, studying me with new appreciation. Mrs. Nwosu, when you walked in here 3 days ago, I thought you were just another battered wife looking for a quick divorce. But you're not, are you? You're planning something bigger. Is it revenge if I'm just taking back what's mine? I asked, legally? No. Morally? She shrugged. That depends on how far you're willing to go. My phone buzzed. A text from Adiz. Sister, Mama is coming to Lagos tomorrow. She says she wants to talk sense into you. Be ready. Perfect. Just what I needed. Family pressure on top of everything else. How far am I willing to go? I repeated, looking back at the lawyer. Chukwudi kicked me in front of his workers like I was a dog. He's been cheating with my best friend for over a year. He has a secret child he's planning to parade around Lagos society. And he thinks I'll just disappear quietly because I'm just a housewife with a useless literature degree. I stood up, my hand pressed against my still-healing ribs. Barrister Okonkwo, I want to file for divorce. I want full custody of my daughters. I want half of everything he owns. The houses, the business, the cars, the land. And I want that video to go viral at exactly the right moment to destroy his reputation with every client who values family and respect. That's quite a revenge plan, she noted. I'm not finished, I said. I also want you to investigate every government contract he's won in the past 5 years. Because I know my husband. He's been cutting corners, bribing officials, using substandard materials. There's a school building in Surulere that developed cracks within 6 months. A hospital in Ikeja with faulty electrical wiring. I have names, dates, and photographs. The lawyer's eyes widened. Mrs. Nwosu, if you're suggesting what I think you're suggesting, I'm suggesting that my cheating spouse has been doing more than just breaking our marriage vows. He's been breaking the law. And if public disgrace is what it takes to make sure he never hurts another woman or endangers another building full of innocent people, then that's what I'll give him. Barrister Okonkwo was quiet for a long moment. Then she smiled, genuinely this time. Mrs. Amara Nwosu, she said, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful professional relationship. But I must warn you, once we start down this path, there's no going back. Are you absolutely certain? I thought about my daughters sleeping in their rooms, unaware that their world was about to shatter. I thought about the 12 years I'd given to a man who repaid me with violence and betrayal. I thought about Ngozi's smug face as she held Chukwudi's son. Most of all, I thought about that kick, the casual cruelty of it, the assumption that I would take it and stay silent. I'm certain, I said. My phone buzzed again. This time it was an unknown number. The message made my blood run cold. Leave your husband alone, or you'll regret it. This is your only warning. The threatening text message glowed on my phone screen as I sat in my sister Dee's cramped apartment in Surulere that night. I'd moved out of the Ikoyi house the day after meeting with Barrister Okonkwo, taking only my daughters, our clothes, and my important documents. Chukwudi hadn't even tried to stop me, which should have been my first warning that he was planning something. Sister, you need to take this to the police, Adiz said, reading the message over my shoulder. She was 5 years younger than me, a nurse at Lagos University Teaching Hospital, and the only person in our family who had supported my decision to leave. The police? I laughed bitterly. The same police commissioner who plays golf with Chukwudi every Saturday, the one whose daughter's wedding Chukwudi sponsored last year. Adi's face fell. She knew I was right. In Lagos, connections meant everything, and my husband had spent years building a network of powerful friends precisely for moments like this. My phone rang. Mama's name flashed on the screen. I let it ring 4 times before answering. Mama, Amara, what is this nonsense I'm hearing? My mother's voice crackled with anger through connection from Anambra. You left your husband's house? You took his children away from him? Have you gone mad? Mama, he kicked me. Did his sisters tell you that part when they called you? A man and his wife have disagreements. That's normal. But you don't disgrace him by running to lawyers and posting videos on the internet like a communist shiwo. I closed my eyes, willing myself to stay calm. I didn't post any video, Mama. His own worker did that. Then you should have made them delete it. Instead, you're their forming strong woman, planning divorce like you're a white woman. We don't do divorce in our family. Amara, we don't break our marriages because of small problems. Small problems? My voice rose despite my best efforts. He has a child with my best friend. He's been stealing from our joint accounts. He assaulted me in public. And I'm sure you provoked him, Mama said coldly. A good wife knows how to manage her husband's temper. Maybe if you had given him a son instead of only daughters. I hung up. My hands were shaking so badly that Adiz had to take the phone from me before I threw it against the wall. That woman, I whispered, tears streaming down my face now. That's my mother, the woman who raised me. And she thinks I deserve to be kicked because I didn't give birth to a son. Adiz wrapped her arms around me. Sister, forget her. She's from a different generation. They don't understand that times have changed, that women don't have to accept emotional manipulation and abuse anymore. But had times really changed? I thought about the women in our church back in Ikoyi, the ones who smiled and nodded when pastors preached about submission and forgiveness. I thought about my former friends, the ones who had stopped returning my calls once word spread about the separation. Even in modern Lagos, with our glass towers and international restaurants, the message was clear. A divorced woman was damaged goods. A soft knock interrupted my thoughts. Adiz went to the door and returned with Emeka, my cousin from the land registry office. He looked nervous, constantly glancing over his shoulder. Amara, he said, his voice low, I found something, but you're not going to like it. He pulled out a folder and spread documents across Adiz's small dining table. Property deeds, transfer records, mortgage papers, all dated within the last 18 months. The Lekki apartment isn't in Ngozi's name, Emeka explained. It's in yours. I stared at him. What? Your husband forged your signature on the purchase documents. He used your name to buy the apartment where he's keeping his mistress. If anyone investigates, it looks like you knew about it and approved. It's genius, really. Evil, but genius. My stomach churned. This was worse than I'd thought. Chukwudi wasn't just a cheating spouse. He was systematically setting me up to take the fall for his infidelity in marriage. There's more, Emeka continued, his expression grim. I checked the other properties. The house in Ikoyi, the one you've been living in for 8 years, it's not in either of your names. It's in his mother's name. Legally, you have no claim to it. But we bought that house together. I contributed my own money from... Do you have receipts? Bank transfers in your name? Any proof? I fell silent. All our major purchases have been made through Chukwudi's accounts. I'd never thought to protect myself because I trusted him. What a fool I'd been. The cars are leased through his company. Emeka went on. The shop you've been running? The space is rented month to month with no contract in your name. Sister, on paper, you own nothing. You have nothing. If this goes to court tomorrow, you walk away with only what you're wearing. Adiz gasped, but that's not fair. She's been married to him for 12 years. Fair doesn't matter, Emeka said sadly. What matters is what you can prove, and right now, Amara can't prove anything. I thought about all those years. Cooking his meals, raising his daughters, entertaining his clients, supporting his business when it was struggling. I'd sacrificed my own dreams of becoming a writer to be his wife, his helper, his domestic support. And he'd spent those same years quietly erasing me from every asset we'd built together. This wasn't just domestic betrayal. This was premeditated theft. What about the evidence I gave to Barrister Okonkwo? I asked. The bank statements showing transfers to Ngozi? Those help prove the affair, Emeka admitted. But they don't prove ownership of assets. And if Chukwudi's lawyers are smart, and they will be, they'll argue that as the primary breadwinner, he had the right to manage marital finances however he saw fit. My phone buzzed again. Another message from the unknown number. Last chance, Amara, drop the divorce. Take your daughters and disappear quietly. Otherwise, we'll make sure you lose everything, including your children. I showed the message to Emeka. His face went pale. Sister, these people are serious. Maybe you should. Should what? I interrupted. Should run? Should hide? Should let him win? Should stay alive? Emeka said quietly. Amara, you're dealing with a man who has connections to some very dangerous people. I've seen what happens to women who push too hard against powerful men in this city. They disappear. They have accidents. Their reputations get destroyed so thoroughly that no one believes them anymore. A chill ran down my spine. Was he right? Had I underestimated how far Chukwudi would go to protect himself? The door burst open. We all jumped. But it was just Kayamika, my 11-year-old daughter, stumbling out of the bedroom she shared with her sister. Her eyes were red from crying. Mommy, she sobbed, I heard you talking. Daddy really has another baby? With Ngozi. My heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. I'd tried so hard to shield my girls from the truth, to give them a few more days of innocence before their world collapsed. I pulled Kayamika into my arms, feeling her shake against me. Baby, Is that why we left? Is that why everyone at school is talking about us? Chidimma's mother said you're a disgrace to all wives. Temi said her father said you're trying to destroy a good man's life. Kayamika, it's complicated. Are you going to make us stop seeing Daddy? Her voice rose, panicked now. Because I don't care if he has another baby. I don't care if he kicked you. I just want to go home. I want our family back. She pushed away from me and ran back into the bedroom, slamming the door so hard that a picture frame fell off of Dee's wall. In the terrible silence that followed, I heard my younger daughter, Zainab, crying softly on the other side of that closed door. Emeka stood up, gathering his documents. I'm sorry, sister. I wish I had better news. But you need to think carefully about your next move. Is it worth losing your daughters to punish your husband? After he left, I sat alone in Adi's living room, staring at my phone. The threatening messages. My mother's condemnation. My daughter's tears. The evidence of Chukwudi's careful, calculated plan to leave me with nothing. Maybe everyone was right. Maybe I should just disappear. Take whatever scraps he offered and try to rebuild my life in silence. My phone rang again. This time it was Barrister Okonkwo. Mrs. Nwosu, we have a problem, she said without preamble. Your husband just filed a countersuit. He's claiming you're an unfit mother with mental health issues. He's requesting full custody of your daughters. And he's scheduled an emergency hearing for Monday morning, 3 days from now. Comment your thoughts on this twist. Do you think Amara should keep fighting or protect her daughters by backing down? Don't forget to like and share this story. What would you do in her situation? Monday morning arrived like a death sentence. I stood outside the Lagos High Court in Igbosir, wearing my best Ankara suit, the navy blue one I bought for Kayamika's school graduation last year. My hands wouldn't stop trembling as I clutched my handbag, inside which I placed every document I owned, birth certificates, marriage certificate, medical reports, and printed screenshots of those damning text messages. Barrister Okonkwo met me at the courthouse steps, her face grim. He's brought his entire family, she warned. His mother, his 3 sisters, 2 uncles, and at least a dozen character witnesses. They're planning to overwhelm the judge with testimonials about what a devoted father he is. And what about Ngozi? I asked. She's here too. In the back row, playing concerned family friend. My blood boiled at that. The concerned family friend who'd been sleeping with my husband for over a year, who'd borne his illegitimate child, who'd helped him destroy our marriage. But I forced myself to breathe slowly, to maintain the calm exterior I'd practiced in Adi's bathroom mirror for the past 3 days. Inside the courtroom, I felt every eye on me. Chukwudi sat at the plaintiff's table with his lawyer, a tall, imposing man named Chief Adebayo who wore a crimson agbada and had reportedly never lost a family court case. Chukwudi looked perfect, of course. His suit was immaculate, his shoes shined, his expression one of wounded dignity. He didn't even glance my way. The judge entered, Justice Okafor, a woman in her 60s with silver hair and a reputation for no-nonsense rulings. I felt a flicker of hope. Surely a woman judge would understand domestic betrayal, would see through Chukwudi's performance. We are here to address the emergency petition filed by Mr. Chukwudi Nwosu regarding custody of his minor children. Justice Okafor began. Chief Adebayo, you may present your case. What followed was a character assassination so thorough, so carefully constructed, that I barely recognized myself in their description. According to Chukwudi's lawyer, I was an unstable woman prone to violent outbursts and paranoid delusions. I had mental health issues that I refused to address. I was neglectful of my daughter's needs, spending money frivolously while my husband worked tirelessly to provide for his family. I had manufactured the assault allegations to extort money from a successful businessman. The video merely showed a concerned husband trying to escort his hysterical wife from his place of business. We have testimony from Mrs. Nwosu's own mother, Chief Adebayo announced, stating that her daughter has always been unstable and prone to exaggeration. My heart stopped. Mama? She'd actually given them a statement against me? We also have reports from teachers at the children's school noting that the girls have seemed distressed and poorly dressed in recent weeks. Clear signs of neglect. That was a lie. A complete fabrication. My daughters were always well-dressed, well-fed, and excelling in their studies. But how could I prove that against an army of prepared witnesses? Then came the parade of character witnesses. Chukwudi's mother testified about what a devoted son and father he was, how he'd built his business from nothing to provide for his family. His sisters spoke about his generosity, his community involvement, his reputation as a family man. A pastor from a church we'd visited once spoke about Chukwudi's charitable donations and his commitment to Christian values. Each witness painted me as a villain, the ungrateful wife who wanted to destroy a good man's reputation because she couldn't handle his success. Through it all, I sat in silence, my nails digging into my palms, my face carefully neutral even as my world crumbled around me. Finally, it was Barrister Okonkwo's turn to speak. Your Honor, she began, standing with the medical report in hand, what we have here is not a case of an unstable woman making false accusations. What we have is a clear pattern of domestic abuse, financial manipulation, and infidelity in marriage that Mr. Nwosu is trying desperately to conceal. She presented the medical report documenting my injuries. She showed the original video of the assault, the unedited version that Emeka had managed to recover from a backup server before Chukwudi's people could scrub it completely from the internet. She displayed the bank statements showing the suspicious transfers. Furthermore, Barrister Okonkwo continued, we have evidence that Mr. Nwosu has been conducting an affair with Mrs. Nwosu's former friend, Ngozi Okafor, and has fathered a child with her. This affair has been ongoing for at least 18 months. During this time, Mr. Nwosu has systematically transferred marital assets into accounts and properties that exclude his wife, essentially planning for this divorce while she remained unaware. Chief Adebayo stood up. Your Honor, my client does not deny having a relationship with Miss Okafor. However, this relationship began only after his marriage had already broken down due to his wife's erratic behavior and constant accusations. As for the child, my client is simply being a responsible man by supporting his offspring. This should be seen as evidence of his good character, not held against him. I wanted to scream. He was actually trying to spin his cheating spouse's behavior as noble. Regarding the assault allegation, Chief Adebayo went on, the video clearly shows an emotional confrontation where my client was trying to maintain order in his place of business. Mrs. Nwosu entered the premises aggressively, causing a scene in front of employees and clients. My client merely tried to escort her out, and she lost her balance. To characterize this as assault is a gross exaggeration designed to gain sympathy and leverage in divorce proceedings. Justice Okafor studied both lawyers carefully. I've reviewed all the evidence presented. Barrister Okonkwo, do you have the children present today? No, Your Honor. We felt it would be traumatic for them to witness these proceedings. And where are they currently residing? With Mrs. Nwosu and her sister in Surulere. Chief Adebayo pounced on this. Your Honor, the children have been removed from their comfortable home in Ikoyi and are now living in a cramped one-bedroom apartment in Surulere. This alone demonstrates Mrs. Nwosu's inability to provide adequate living conditions for the minors. The children were removed from that home for their safety, Barrister Okonkwo countered, after their father assaulted their mother in public. Surely Your Honor doesn't believe they should remain in a household where domestic violence is tolerated. Justice Okafor raised her hand for silence. I will interview the children privately in my chambers before making any determination. However, I am concerned about the allegations of assault. Mr. Nwosu, do you have anything to say in your own defense? Chukwudi stood, and I saw him transform. His expression softened. His voice became gentle. The voice he'd used when we were dating, when he promised to love and protect me forever. Your Honor, he began, I love my wife. I have loved her for 14 years. Yes, our marriage has had difficulties. Yes, I made mistakes, but I never intended to hurt her. That day at my office, I was under enormous stress. She arrived unannounced, making wild accusations about my business dealings in front of my employees. I admit I reacted poorly. I shouldn't have touched her. For that, I am truly sorry. He turned to look at me directly for the first time that day. His eyes were suspiciously moist. Amara, he said, his voice breaking slightly, I know you're hurt. I know you feel betrayed. But please, don't punish our daughters because you're angry with me. They need both their parents. They need stability, routine, their friends at school. Don't tear apart our family over one moment of weakness on both our parts. Several people in the courtroom murmured sympathetically. I saw Justice Okafor's expression soften slightly. This was it, the moment I would lose everything. My daughters, my dignity, my chance at revenge, all of it was slipping away because my husband knew how to perform contrition for an audience. Then the courtroom doors burst open. A man in a worn suit rushed in, clutching a briefcase. Your Honor, I apologize for the interruption. My name is Inspector Adelik from the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. I have urgent information relevant to these proceedings. Justice Okafor frowned. Inspector, this is highly irregular. Your Honor, I have evidence that Mr. Chukwudi Nwosu has been involved in contract fraud totaling over 300 million naira. I have documents showing the use of substandard building materials in government projects, bribery of public officials, and money laundering through false company accounts. Several of these crimes were committed using accounts in Mrs. Amara Nwosu's name, without her knowledge or consent. The courtroom erupted in chaos. Chukwudi's face went from sympathetic to furious in an instant. This is a setup? Your Honor, my wife has orchestrated this disruption to sabotage these proceedings. Inspector Adelik opened his briefcase and pulled out a thick folder. We've been investigating Mr. Nwosu for 6 months, Your Honor. We received an anonymous tip about irregularities in construction contracts. What we found was extensive fraud that has endangered public safety. There's a school building in Surulere that could collapse at any moment because Mr. Nwosu used diluted concrete to increase his profit margins. My hands flew to my mouth. I hadn't known it was that bad. Yes, I'd seen evidence of corner cutting, but a building that could collapse? Children could die. Your Honor, this is clearly a coordinated attack on my client's reputation. Chief Adebayo protested. The timing is too convenient. The timing, Inspector Adelik interrupted, is based on when we completed our investigation. We were planning to make arrests next week, but when we learned Mr. Nwosu was in court today attempting to gain custody of his children, we felt the court should know that he may soon be facing criminal charges. Justice Okafor looked like she'd aged 10 years in the last 5 minutes. Inspector, are you telling me this man is about to be arrested? Yes, Your Honor. Likely within the next 48 hours. Chukwudi stood abruptly, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. His mask had completely fallen away now, revealing the rage beneath. He pointed at me with a shaking finger. You did this, he hissed. You vindictive bitch. You destroy me? Destroy our children's future? Over what? Your wounded pride. Mr. Nwosu. Justice Okafor's voice cracked like a whip. You will control yourself in my courtroom, or I will hold you in contempt. But Chukwudi wasn't listening. He turned to his family, to Ngozi sitting pale-faced in the back row, to his expensive lawyer, who suddenly looked very worried about being associated with soon-to-be criminal defendant. This isn't over, Amara, Chukwudi said, his voice low and dangerous. You think you've won? You just started a war you cannot win. Security guards moved toward him, but he shook them off and stormed out of courtroom. His mother and sisters followed, shooting me looks of pure hatred. Justice Okafor cleared her throat. Given this new information, I am postponing my decision on custody, pending the outcome of any criminal proceedings against Mr. Nwosu. In the interim, the children will remain with their mother. Mr. Nwosu will be granted supervised visitation only, pending criminal investigation. This hearing is adjourned. As people filed out, I sat frozen in my seat. Had I really just won? Or had I just made the most dangerous enemy of my life? Barrister Okonkwo touched my shoulder gently. Mrs. Nwosu, we need to leave. Now, your husband's family is waiting outside, and they don't look pleased. I stood on shaky legs and followed her toward a side exit. But before we could reach it, Ngozi blocked our path. Up close, I could see the strain on her face. She wasn't a triumphant mistress anymore. She was a woman realizing she'd bet everything on a man who was about to lose everything. Amara, she said, her voice trembling. Please, you have to make them drop the investigation. Chukwudi has money hidden. Money that can disappear if he goes to prison. Money that was supposed to secure my son's future. I stared at her. This woman who had shared my secrets, stood beside me at my wedding, held my babies when they were born. This woman who betrayed me in the cruelest way possible. Your son's future? I repeated quietly. What about my daughter's future? What about all the children in that school building that could collapse because your lover cut corners to buy you diamond jewelry? Ngozi's face hardened. You think you're so righteous. You think this is justice. But you just made an enemy of everyone who matters in Lagos. Chukwudi's family will destroy you. His business associates will blacklist you. No one will hire you, rent to you, or even speak to you. You'll be radioactive. Then I'll leave Lagos, I said simply. And go where? Back to your village where everyone thinks you're a disgrace? To another city where you have no connections, no money, no way to support your daughters. She leaned closer. You didn't win today. Amara, you just chose a slower way to lose everything. She walked away, leaving me standing in the courthouse hallway, her words echoing in my mind. Outside, I found Inspector Adelik waiting by an unmarked car. Mrs. Nwosu, he said quietly, I need you to know something. That anonymous tip we received 6 months ago, it came with very detailed information about your husband's operations. Information only someone close to him would have. I met his eyes. Are you asking me if I was a tipster? I'm telling you that whoever provided that information saved lives. That school building, we evacuated it yesterday. We found cracks in the foundation that structural engineers say would have caused a catastrophic failure within 6 months. There are 200 children who go to that school. My throat tightened. 200 children. 200 families who have been destroyed because of Chukwudi's greed. However, Inspector Adelik continued, his voice hardening, you should also know that your husband has already made calls. He's reaching out to people who can make evidence disappear. Witnesses recant. Files get lost. He's a desperate man, and desperate men are dangerous. You need to be very careful, Mrs. Nwosu. After he drove away, I stood on the courthouse steps, looking out at Lagos, The city I call home for 12 years. The city where I built my life and lost it. My phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. You should have taken the warning. Now your daughters will. Pay the price. I ran. My heels clicked frantically against the Lagos pavement as I sprinted toward the taxi that would take me back to Adi's apartment. The threatening text message burned in my mind like acid. Now your daughters will pay the price. I called Adi's 7 times. She didn't answer. I called Kayamika's phone, the one I bought her for emergencies. It went straight to voicemail. Traffic was impossible. Every red light felt like an eternity. Every Okada weaving between cars made me want to scream at the taxi driver to move faster. The emotional manipulation had escalated to something far more sinister. My children were in danger because I dared to fight back. Auntie, calm down, the taxi driver said, watching me in his rearview mirror. You go give yourself a heart attack. But I couldn't calm down. All I could think about was Kayamika and Zainab alone in that apartment, unaware that their father, the man they still loved despite everything, might be planning to take them, or worse. When we finally reached the D's building in Surulere, I threw money at the driver without waiting for change and raced up the 3 flights of stairs. The apartment door was closed but unlocked, exactly as I'd left it that morning. Inside, everything looked normal. Too normal. Kayamika, Zainab. My voice echoed through the small space. Silence. I checked the bedroom. Empty. The bathroom. Empty. The tiny kitchen where D's kept a pot of jollof rice warming for the girls' lunch. Also empty. On the dining table, I found a note in D's handwriting. Sister, the girls' school called. They said there was an emergency. Something about a medical issue with Kayamika. I took them both to the clinic. We'll call you soon. Don't worry. Hey! My blood ran cold. Kayamika didn't have any medical conditions. And even if she did, why would Adiz take both girls? Why wouldn't she answer her phone? I called Adiz again. Still no answer. I called the clinic she usually used. Hello. Yes, I'm looking for my sister, Adiz Okafor. She's a nurse. Is she there with 2 young girls? Madam, we have no record of any patients by that name today, the receptionist said. My hand started shaking so badly, I almost dropped the phone. This was it. Chukwudi had taken my daughters. He'd somehow gotten to Adiz or tricked her, or... My phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? My voice came out as a desperate whisper. Mommy? It was Kayamika, and she sounded terrified. Baby, where are you? Are you okay? Mommy. Grandma came. She said you were in an accident, that we needed to come with her right away. Auntie Adiz took us to meet her, and then... The phone was snatched away. Chukwudi's mother's voice replaced my daughter's. Amara, you foolish girl, the old woman spat. You think you can humiliate my son, disgrace our family name, and face no consequences. Where are my daughters? I demanded, my fear transforming into rage. Mama, whatever problem you have with me, leave my children out of it. Your children? She laughed, a harsh, bitter sound. Those are Nwosu children. They carry my son's blood, my family's name. You are just a woman who birthed them. And now that you've proven yourself to be an unfit mother, running to lawyers, spreading lies, destroying a good man's reputation, it's time for them to come home where they belong. The court gave me custody. I shouted, you can't just take them. The court? Another harsh laugh. You think a piece of paper from some judge will stop me? I have taken my grandchildren to a place where you will never find them. They will be raised properly, by people who understand respect and family values, not by a bitter, vengeful woman who would rather see their father in prison than preserve their family's dignity. If you hurt them? Her voice dripped with false innocence. Why would I hurt my own grandchildren? I'm protecting them. From you. You are the danger, Amara. You and your selfish revenge plot. But don't worry. We'll tell them you abandoned them, that you chose your pride over your children. In a few months, they won't even remember you. The line went dead. I stood in the middle of Adiz's apartment, my phone clutched in my trembling hand. my mind racing through impossible scenarios. Where could she have taken them? Chukwudi's family compound in Enugu? A relative's house in Port Harcourt? Out of Nigeria entirely? I called Barrister Okonkwo. For once, she answered immediately. Mrs. Nwosu, I was just about to call you. Your husband's lawyers have filed an emergency motion claiming you kidnapped the children and... They took them. I interrupted, my voice breaking. Chukwudi's mother took my daughters. She tricked my sister into bringing them to her, and now she's saying she won't give them back. Silence on the other end. Then, Mrs. Nwosu, this is a criminal matter now. You need to file a police report immediately. The police? The same police who play golf with Chukwudi. Then call Inspector Adelik. He's EFCC. He might have more authority. But you need to document this. Create a paper trail. Otherwise, it becomes your word against theirs, and they'll claim the children went willingly. After she hung up, I tried Adee's phone again. This time, she answered, and she was sobbing. Sister, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. She said you were in the hospital, that you'd been in a car accident after court, that the girls needed to come identify you. I thought I believed. Where did you take them? I forced myself to speak calmly, even though I wanted to scream. To the Eco Hotel car park. She was waiting there with Chukwudi's sisters. They took the girls into a car and drove off before I could stop them. Sister, I tried to follow, but they had security guards who blocked me. I'm still here. They won't let me leave. They're saying I'll face charges for kidnapping if I make trouble. Stay there. I ordered. Don't move. I'm coming. I grabbed my bag and headed for the door, but my phone rang again. This time it was a number I recognized. My mother. Mama, not now. Amara listened to me. Her voice was different. Urgent. Almost frightened. I just received a call from Chukwudi's mother. She told me what she did. She's taken the children. You're calling to gloat? No. Mama's voice cracked. I'm calling to warn you. That woman is not playing. Amara. I know her type. She's a ruthless old woman who cares only about her family's reputation and her son's pride. She will turn your daughters against you. She will poison them with lies until they hate you. I've seen it happen before. I stopped walking. Then help me get them back. How? She has money, connections, people who will swear in court that she's providing a stable home for those girls. You have nothing but anger and accusations. I have the truth. The truth? Mama laughed bitterly. Since when does the truth matter in Nigeria? Since when does a woman's word count for more than a powerful man's money? Amara, I'm telling you as your mother, stop this fight before you lose more than just your marriage. You've already lost your home, your friends, your reputation. Don't lose your daughters too. What are you saying? That I should just let them keep my children? I'm saying maybe it's time to negotiate. Maybe Chukwudi will agree to a compromise. You drop the criminal investigation. He gives you the girls back and some money to start over somewhere else. Everyone saves face. The children don't grow up with a father in prison. My mother was suggesting I trade my daughters for my husband's freedom. The same woman who had raised me, who had taught me to read, who had once told me I could be anything I wanted. Mama, I said quietly, did he pay you? What? Did Chukwudi pay you to call me right now? To convince me to back down? How much was your daughter's dignity worth? The silence on the other end told me everything I needed to know. You know what the saddest part is? I continued. I would have forgiven the cheating spouse. I would have forgiven the public disgrace. But selling out your own daughter? Your own grandchildren? For what? A new roof on your house? A car? What was your price, Mama? Amara, you don't understand. I hung up and blocked her number. By the time I reached the Eco Hotel, Adiz was sitting on the curb outside the car park, her face streaked with tears and mascara. 2 security guards stood nearby, watching her suspiciously. Sister, she said when she saw me, I'm so sorry. I should have questioned it. I should have called you first, but she sounded so convincing, and I thought, it's not your fault, I said, though part of me wanted to scream at her for being so naive. Did you see which direction they went? Toward the mainland. Towards Surulere, maybe? Or Acadia? Not helpful. They could be anywhere in Lagos' sprawling chaos by now. I called Inspector Adelik. He answered on the second ring. Mrs. Nwosu, I've heard. Your husband's lawyer called my office 20 minutes ago, claiming you violated the custody arrangement by hiding the children. He's trying to get ahead of the narrative. They kidnapped my daughters. I believe you, but legally this is complicated. The court gave you temporary custody, but also granted him supervised visitation rights. His family could claim they were simply exercising those rights. Without my knowledge, without supervision, while his mother threatens to hide them where I'll never find them. Inspector Adelik sighed. Mrs. Nwosu, I'm going to be honest with you. This is exactly what I was afraid would happen. You backed a powerful man into a corner, and he's fighting back with everything he has. The criminal investigation into his business practices is solid. We have evidence, witnesses, documents. But this custody situation? It's messier. It's emotion versus law, and emotion doesn't always win. So what am I supposed to do? Just let them keep my children? No, but you need to be strategic. File a police report, get documentation of the kidnapping. I'll make some calls, see if I can locate where they took the girls. But Mrs. Nwosu, he paused, his voice heavy with warning. You need to prepare yourself for the possibility that this gets worse before it gets better. After I hung up, I stood in the Eco Hotel car park, watching Lagos traffic flow past. Thousands of people going about their normal lives while mine was disintegrating. My phone buzzed. A message from Ngozi. I told you to leave him alone. I told you this would happen. But you were so determined to have your revenge, weren't you? Well, congratulations, Amara. Your revenge cost you everything. I hope it was worth it. Then another message, this one with a photo attached. It showed Kayamika and Zainab sitting in what looked like a luxury living room, eating ice cream and watching television. They looked unharmed, even happy. The message read, see? They're fine. Better than fine. They're home now where they belong. And if you keep pushing, if you keep trying to destroy Chukwudi, you'll never see them again. Choose wisely, Amara, your pride or your daughters. You can't have both. I stared at that photo for a long moment. My beautiful girls, safe and comfortable in captivity, being turned against me with ice cream and television, and lies whispered by their grandmother. Adiz touched my arm gently. Sister, what are you to do? I looked at her, then at the photo, then at the chaotic Lagos traffic that had swallowed my children. I'm going to get them back. I said, whatever it takes. But how? You heard what Inspector Adelik said. There's someone I haven't called yet. I interrupted, pulling up a contact I'd saved 6 months ago but had never had the courage to dial. Someone who knows exactly where Chukwudi's family would hide the girls. Who? I pressed the call button and waited. When a woman's voice answered, I said, Ngozi, I know you sent me that photo. I know you think you've won. But I also know you're scared. Scared that when Chukwudi goes to prison, you'll be left with nothing. So I'm going to make you a deal. What do you think Amara's deal will be? Drop your predictions in the comments. Hit that subscribe button if you're invested in this story. Share this with anyone who loves intense African family drama. Will Amara get her daughters back? Ngozi agreed to meet me at a small bukka in Yaba, neutral ground, far from Chukwudi's prying eyes and his family's network of spies. She arrived 30 minutes late, wearing dark sunglasses despite the evening hour, looking over her shoulder like a woman being hunted. She was being hunted. We both were. You have 10 minutes, she said, sliding into the plastic chair across from me. Around us, other customers ate their EBA and egusi soup, oblivious of the domestic betrayal and co-parenting tension being negotiated at our small table. I pushed an envelope across the table. Inside is a copy of the documents Inspector Adelik showed me, evidence of every fraudulent contract Chukwudi has signed in the past 5 years, bank statements showing where the bribe money went, witness testimonies from his own workers about the substandard materials he used. Ngozi didn't touch the envelope. Why are you showing me this? Because 3 of those accounts are in your name, I said quietly. Chukwudi's been using you, Ngozi, using your identity to launder money. to hide assets, to create a paper trail that leads straight to you if the investigation goes deep enough. When he goes down, he's taking you with him. Her face went pale beneath her makeup. You're lying. Am I? I pulled out my phone and showed her screenshots of bank statements. See this account? Ngozi Okafor, Access Bank, opened 18 months ago. 10 million naira flowing through it every month. Do you even know this account exists? She stared at the screen, her hand trembling slightly as she reached for my phone. I pulled it back. He told me those accounts were for investments, she whispered. For our son's future. He said he was protecting his assets from you, from the divorce. He was protecting his assets. All right. By putting them in your name so that when the EFCC comes knocking, you're the one who goes to Kirikiri prison, not him. Ngozi's sunglasses slipped down her nose, and I saw real fear in her eyes. This wasn't the confident mistress who'd stood in Chukwudi's office, holding his baby. This was a woman realizing she'd been played just as thoroughly as I had. What do you want from me? She asked. Tell me where his family took my daughters. I don't know. Don't lie to me. Ngozi, you sent me that photo. You know exactly where they are, because you're still Chukwudi's inside woman. You're probably feeding him information right now, telling him about this meeting the moment you leave here. She looked away, confirming my suspicion. Here's what's going to happen. I continued, my voice steady despite the rage burning in my chest. You're going to tell me where my daughters are. And in exchange, I'm going to give you copies of these documents so you can protect yourself. I'll also testify that you didn't know about the fraud, that Chukwudi manipulated you just like he manipulated me. The EFCC might go easier on you if you cooperate. And if I don't tell you, then I make sure the EFCC knows that you were a willing participant in everything, that you helped Chukwudi hide money, forge documents, and evade taxes. You'll go to prison, Ngozi, and your son, baby Chukwemeka, will grow up visiting his mother behind bars. It was a bluff. I had no real evidence that she'd been involved in the fraud beyond being an unwitting account holder. But Ngozi didn't know that. And more importantly, she was terrified enough to believe it. She was silent for a long moment, her fingers drumming nervously on the table. Finally, she said, they're at his mother's compound in Nsukka. Nsukka? My heart sank. That was in Enugu State. Hours away by road, a completely different legal jurisdiction. Chukwudi's mother had taken my daughters out of Lagos, out of reach of any court order or police intervention I could arrange quickly. His mother has a house there. Ngozi continued, her voice barely above a whisper. It's where the family goes when they want to hide from problems. When Chukwudi's father was being investigated for tax evasion years ago, they stayed there for 6 months until it blew over. The compound is gated, has security, and everyone in the village is loyal to the Nwosu family. You can't just walk in and take the girls back. Then how do I get to them? Ngozi pulled off her sunglasses and looked at me directly for the first time. Her eyes were red-rimmed, exhausted. Amara, I know you hate me. I know I destroyed your marriage and your trust. But I need you to understand something. I never wanted it to be like this. When Chukwudi and I started our affair, he told me you two were already finished. He said you were cold, distant, that you hadn't been intimate in years. He made me believe I was saving him from a loveless marriage. Is this supposed to make me feel sorry for you? No. It's supposed to make you understand that we're both victims of the same man. He's a master manipulator, Amara. He told me he loved me. He promised to marry me after the divorce. He said our son would inherit everything. But now I'm watching him throw me under the bus to save himself. He's already distancing himself from me. Told his lawyers our affair was a mistake, that I seduced him during a vulnerable time. He's making me the villain in his redemption story. I felt a flicker of something that wasn't quite sympathy, but wasn't pure hatred either. Maybe it was recognition, the understanding that comes when two women realize they've been played by the same skilled liar. There's a service entrance to the compound, Ngozi said, pulling out her phone and showing me a map. Here, it's usually unmanned at night because the guards assume no one knows about it. But you need to get past the main gate first, and then what? Break into the house like a thief? Grab my daughters and run? They'd have me arrested before I made it back to Lagos. Then what's your plan? Ngozi challenged. Wait for the courts? File more motions? By the time the legal system works in your favor, those girls will have been so thoroughly poisoned against you that they won't want to come back. His mother is probably already filling their heads with stories about how you're a terrible mother, how you chose revenge over your family, how they're better off without you. She was right. Every day my daughter spent with Chukwudi's family was another day of emotional manipulation, another day of them learning to see me as the enemy. My phone rang. Inspector Adelik. Mrs. Nwosu, we have a problem. Your husband's lawyers just presented evidence to a judge in Enugu claiming you're the one who violated custody by refusing to allow court-mandated visitation. They have a court order granting his family temporary custody, pending a full hearing next month. That's impossible. The Lagos court gave me custody. But you're no longer in Lagos, and neither are your daughters. Once they crossed into Enugu State, it became a jurisdictional issue. His lawyers are very good, Mrs. Nwosu. They planned this carefully. I closed my eyes, fighting back tears of frustration. So what do? Get a lawyer in Enugu, file a counter motion, and pray that the Enugu judge is more sympathetic than the one Chukwudi just paid off. After he hung up, I sat there staring at my phone, feeling the walls closing in. Every legal avenue was blocked. Every move I made, Chukwudi had already anticipated and countered. He'd turned my own mother against me. He'd manipulated the legal system. He'd stolen my daughters. There's another way, Ngozi said quietly. I looked up at her. Chukwudi's hiding something else, she continued. Something that could destroy him completely if it came out. Something worse than the fraud. What? She leaned in close, her voice dropping to a whisper. Remember that school building that almost collapsed? The one in Surulere. I nodded. There was an inspector, a government official who was supposed to sign off on the building's safety. He refused because he saw the cracks, saw the evidence of substandard materials. Chukwudi couldn't bribe him, so he had him killed. The world seemed to stop spinning. What? It was made to look like a car accident. But I was there, Amara. I was at the house when Chukwudi got the call confirming it was done. I heard him laugh and say, one less problem to worry about. That man had a wife and 3 children, and Chukwudi had him murdered to protect a construction contract. I stared at her, my mind struggling to process this information. My husband, the man I'd shared a bed with for 12 years, the father of my children, was a murderer? Why are you telling me this? I whispered. Because I'm terrified, Ngozi admitted, tears streaming down her face now. If he could kill that inspector, he could kill anyone who threatens him. Me, you, even his own mother, she becomes a liability. I have a son, Amara. I need Chukwudi alive and providing for us. But I also need to protect myself. And the only way to do that is to make sure he knows I have insurance. Evidence that could destroy him if anything happens to me. Do you have proof? I have recordings. Phone conversations between Chukwudi and the man he paid to arrange the accident. I recorded them on my phone because she laughed bitterly. Because even when I was sleeping with him, even when I was having his baby, some part of me knew he couldn't be trusted, so I kept insurance. She pulled a small USB drive from her purse and placed it on the table between us. Give this to Inspector Adelik, she said. Let the EFCC investigate the murder. Once Chukwudi is arrested for that, his family's power crumbles. His mother won't be able to hide your daughters when her son is facing life imprisonment for murder. The whole family will scatter, trying to save themselves. I stare at the USB drive like it was a bomb, which, in a way, it was a bomb that could blow up what remained of my daughter's relationship with their father forever. If I do this, I said slowly, Kayamika and Zainab will grow up knowing their father is a murderer. They'll carry that shame their whole lives. Is that the revenge I want? Is that justice or just cruelty? It's the truth, Ngozi said simply. And isn't that what you said you were fighting for? The truth. Before I could respond, both our phones buzzed simultaneously. A message from Chukwudi, sent to both of us. I know you two are meeting. Ngozi, I'm disappointed. Amara, you really think my former mistress will help you? She's already told me everything about your little plan. Nice try, though. By the way, the girls miss you. Kayamika asked why her mommy doesn't love her anymore. I told her you were too busy trying to destroy our family. She cried for an hour. Sleep well, Amara. I looked at Ngozi. She looked at her phone, then at me, her face stricken. I swear I didn't tell him about this meeting. How did he know? I demanded. She looked around the bookca wildly. Then her eyes landed on her purse. She reached inside and pulled out her phone, examining it carefully. Then she found it, a small tracking device hidden in the phone case. He's been tracking me, she whispered in horror. This whole time, he's known everywhere I've gone, everyone I've talked to. Oh, God, Amara, if he knows I gave you that USB drive. A black Mercedes pulled up outside the bookca. 4 men got out, not police, not security guards, but something worse. Private muscle. The kind of men Chukwudi hired when he needed problems to disappear. Ngozi saw them and went white. Run, she said. Run now. I grabbed the USB drive and ran. Behind me, I heard Ngozi screaming. Whether at me to keep running or at the men to leave her alone, I couldn't tell. The bookca erupted in chaos as customers scattered, tables overturned, plates of food crashing to the ground. But I didn't look back. I couldn't. I burst out of the back entrance into a narrow alley filled with garbage bins and stray cats. My heels were useless, so I kicked them off and ran barefoot across the dirty Lagos streets. The USB drive clutched so tightly in my fist that the edges cut into my palm. I could hear heavy footsteps behind me, male voices shouting, getting closer. I ducked into a crowded market, weaving between traders selling fabrics, electronics, and food. An old woman selling oranges yelled at me as I knocked over a carefully arranged display. I shouted an apology but kept running, using the crowd as cover. My phone rang. I answered without looking at the caller ID. Mrs. Nwosu, were you? Inspector Adelik's voice cut through my panic. I just got a call that there was an incident at a bookca in Yaba. They're chasing me. I gasped, my lungs burning. Chukwudi sent men. They're trying to... Listen to me carefully. Do you still have the evidence Ngozi gave you? Yes. Then you need to get to a police station immediately. Not just any station. Go to the one on Maloney Street in Abilend. Ask for Sergeant Okonkwo. He's one of mine. He'll protect you until I can get there. I emerged from the market onto a main road, frantically waving down Okadas. The first 3 drivers ignored me. A barefoot, wild-eyed woman probably looked like trouble they didn't need. Finally, a young man on a red motorcycle stopped. Maloney Street, Abilend. I gasped, "Please, it's an emergency." "I'll pay triple." He saw the desperation in my face and nodded. I climbed on and we shot into Lagos traffic, just as 2 of Chukwudi's men burst out of the market behind me. The Okada weaved through cars with a reckless speed that made Lagos bike taxis both terrifying and invaluable. I clung to the driver. The USB drive still clutched in my hand, my bare feet dangling above asphalt that would shred my skin if I fell. My phone rang again. Chukwudi's name flashed on the screen. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Amara." His voice was calm. Too calm. "You're making this harder than it needs to be. You sent men to attack me. I sent men to retrieve my property. That USB drive Ngozi gave you, it's stolen. It contains confidential business information. By taking it, you've committed theft. It contains evidence that you murdered someone." Silence on the other end. Then, "Be very careful what accusations you make. Amara, slander is also a crime. And you're already looking at charges for parental kidnapping, defamation, and interfering with custody arrangements. Do you really want to add false accusations of murder to that list? The recording is real. Ngozi heard you. Ngozi is an unstable woman who's been stalking me since I ended our affair." Chukwudi interrupted smoothly. "She's fabricated stories, forged documents, and apparently now recruited my bitter ex-wife to help destroy me. No court will believe anything she says. Or anything you say." The Okada swerved around a Danfo bus, and I nearly fell off. "What did you do to her?" I demanded. "Those men at the bookca, did they hurt her?" Ngozi is fine. Shaken, but fine. She's realized the error of her ways and has agreed to provide a statement to my lawyers about how you coerce her into giving you fabricated evidence. She's very convincing when she cries. My stomach churned. Had Ngozi betrayed me again? Or had Chukwudi threatened her son? You can't win this, Amara, Chukwudi continued, his voice taking on a paternal, almost pitying tone. I've been playing this game for 20 years. I've beaten government investigators, business rivals, corrupt officials. You're just my wife. Sorry, my ex-wife. You're not equipped for this level of warfare. Then why are you so desperate to stop me? I shot back. If you're so confident, why send men after me? Why threaten Ngozi? Why hide my daughters in Succa? I'm protecting my children from their mother's mental breakdown, he said coldly. Everything I've done has been for Kayamika and Zainab, to give them stability, safety, a home free from their mother's vindictive behavior. When this is over, and it will be over soon, they'll understand that I was the hero of the story, not you. They'll know the truth eventually. Will they? Chukwudi laughed. Or will they know the version of truth that I tell them? The version where their mother chose revenge over reconciliation? Where she tried to destroy their father's business and reputation because she couldn't handle him moving on with his life? Amara, I'm writing the narrative here. You're just a footnote. The Okada pulled up to the police station on Maloney Street. I jumped off, threw money at the driver, and ran toward the entrance. I have to go, I said into the phone. One more thing, Chukwudi said, his voice dropping to a whisper. That USB drive you're holding? It won't save you. I have copies of those recordings, edited versions that tell a very different story. And I have lawyers who will argue that they're inadmissible as evidence because they were obtained illegally. But go ahead, give it to the EFCC. Watch them investigate. Watch them find nothing. And while you're wasting time chasing shadows, I'll be with my daughters, teaching them to forget you ever existed. He hung up. Inside the police station, I found Sergeant Okonkwo, a middle-aged man with kind eyes who took one look at my appearance and immediately ushered me into a private room. Within an hour, Inspector Adelik arrived with 2 EFCC agents. I handed over the USB drive. They plugged it into a laptop and listened to the recordings. I watched their faces as the audio played. Chukwudi's voice, clear as day, discussing the removal of the troublesome inspector, discussing payment schedules, discussing how to make it look like an accident. When it finished, Inspector Adelik looked at me with something like respect mixed with pity. This is good, he said. This is very good. But Mrs. Nwosu, you need to understand what happens now. We'll investigate this new evidence. We'll interview witnesses, examine the accident report, look for corroborating evidence. But this process takes time. Weeks, maybe months. I don't have months, I said. My daughters. I know. He placed a hand on my shoulder. But there's something else you should know. We've been tracking your husband's movements since this morning. He's planning to leave the country. Tomorrow night, he has tickets to Dubai for himself and your daughters. Once he gets them out of Nigeria, recovering them becomes an international custody battle that could take years. My blood turned to ice. He's going to kidnap them permanently? He's going to take them somewhere without an extradition treaty with Nigeria. Inspector Adeli clarified. Somewhere he can live comfortably while avoiding prosecution. He's been moving money into offshore accounts for weeks. We've documented it all. But if he gets on that plane with your daughters, getting them back becomes nearly impossible. Then arrest him now. I stood up, my voice rising. You have evidence of fraud, bribery, possibly murder. Arrest him before he leaves. We don't have enough yet for the murder charge, Inspector Adelik said. The recordings help, but we need physical evidence. The actual accident report, witness testimony, proof of payment to the killer. Without that, his lawyers will get him bail, and he'll disappear. We get one shot at this, Mrs. Nwosu. We need to make it count. I sank back into my chair, defeated. So what I do? Just let him take my daughters to Dubai. Inspector Adelik exchanged glances with his colleagues. Then he said something that changed everything. Or you go to Nsukka tonight. You get your daughters back before he can move them. And we make sure he's arrested the moment he tries to board that plane tomorrow. But the Enugu court order is based on false testimony and forged documents. Inspector Adelik interrupted, which means it's not legally valid. If you can get your daughters and bring them back to Lagos before his lawyers realize what's happening, the Lagos custody order takes precedence. It's risky and it requires perfect timing, but it's possible. And if I get caught, if his family calls the police, then you'll be arrested for kidnapping your own children, he admitted, which is why we'll have EFCC agents positioned nearby to intervene if necessary. But Mrs. Nwosu, I can't officially condone this plan. This conversation never happened. If you choose to go to Nsukka tonight, you're doing it on your own. I thought about my daughters, about Kayamika's question, why doesn't mommy love us anymore? About Zainab's tears, about them being taken to Dubai, raised by a murderer and his enabler mother, taught to hate the woman who gave them life. I thought about the inspector who died for doing his job, about the 200 children in that school who could have been killed, about all the other people Chukwudi had hurt in his climb to success. I thought about Ngozi, used and discarded, about my mother, bought with blood money, about 12 years of my life given to a man who'd never loved me, only controlled me. I'll need a car, I said quietly, and someone to go with me. I can't do this alone. A voice from the doorway made me turn around. You won't have to. It was Adiz, her eyes red from crying, but her jaw set with determination. Behind her stood Emeka, my cousin from the land registry office. We're family, Adiz said simply. You don't leave family behind. Not even when they're stupid enough to pick a fight with a monster. Especially not then, Emeka added with a small smile. Inspector Adelik handed me a piece of paper with an address. The service entrance Ngozi told you about. We've confirmed it's usually unmanned between midnight and 3 a.m. That's your window. Get in. Get your daughters. Get out. Don't stop. Don't confront anyone. Don't try to be a hero. Just get those girls and drive straight back to Lagos. And if something goes wrong, he gave me a phone number. Call this. We'll have agents in Nsukka, but they can't officially help unless you're in immediate danger. So don't get in immediate danger. 3 hours later, I was in Emeka's car heading east on the Enugu-Nsukka Expressway. Adiz sat beside me in the back seat, holding my hand as we drove through the darkness toward my children. My phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. This time I knew it wasn't a threat. It was a photo of Kayamika and Zainab sleeping peacefully in a large bed, uploaded just minutes ago, and a message from Ngozi. West wing, second floor, third door on the left. The nanny is asleep in the next room. You have 20 minutes once you enter before the guards do their rounds. I'm sorry, Amara, for everything. Tell your daughters their father loved them, even if he didn't know how to show it. And tell them the truth when they're old enough to understand. They deserve that much. She came through. I whispered, showing the message to Adiz. Or it's a trap, my sister warned. Only one way to find out. At 1:47 a.m., we pulled up to a bush path half a kilometer from Chukwudi's mother's compound. Emeka stayed with the car, engine running, ready to drive the moment we returned. Adiz and I crept through the darkness toward the service entrance. My heart hammered, so loudly I was sure every dog in Nsukka could hear it. But Ngozi had been right. The entrance was unmanned, the gate unlocked. We slipped into the compound, keeping to the shadows. The house loomed before us, a massive structure that screamed old money and traditional power. Inside, lights were off except for a few security bulbs. We found the west wing. We climbed the external stairs to the second floor. We counted doors until we reached the third one on the left. I stood there, my hand on the doorknob, wondering if this was a moment everything either came together or fell completely apart. Then I heard it, soft breathing on the other side of the door, the sound of my children sleeping. I turned the knob, the door opened, and there they were, Kayamika and Zainab, curled up together in a bed that was too big for them, holding each other the way they always did when they were scared. They looked so small, so vulnerable, so completely innocent of the war being waged around them. I crept into the room, Adiz behind me. I gently touched Kayamika's shoulder. Her eyes opened. For a moment, she didn't recognize me in the darkness. Then, "Mommy?" "Sure, baby. We need to be very quiet. We're going home." "But Grandma said—" "I know what Grandma said, but it's time to go home now. Can you wake your sister for me?" Very quietly, Kayamika nodded and gently shook Zainab awake. The younger girl's eyes went wide when she saw me. "Are we in trouble?" Zainab whispered, "No, baby, you're not in trouble, but we need to leave right now. Can you do that? Can you be brave for Mommy?" Both girls nodded. They were scared and confused, but they trusted me. Despite everything Chukwudi's family had told them, some part of my daughters still believed in their mother. We were halfway down the external stairs when the lights came on. Chukwudi's mother stood in the courtyard below, flanked by 2 security guards. She looked ancient and terrible in the harsh electric light, like some avenging spirit from an old folk tale. "I knew you would come," she said, her voice carrying clearly in the night air. "I told Chukwudi you were too stubborn to accept defeat, just like your mother was too greedy to stay loyal to her own daughter. I pushed my daughters behind me, shielding them with my body. Let us leave. So you can fill their heads with more lies about their father? So you can turn them into bitter, angry women like yourself? I think not." One of the security guards pulled out a phone, presumably to call the police. But before he could dial, headlights flooded the compound. 3 cars with EFCC markings screeched to a stop, and Inspector Adelik stepped out, flanked by armed agents. "Mrs. Nwosu is leaving with her daughters," he announced, his voice carrying the weight of federal authority, under the jurisdiction of the Lagos Family Court Order, which supersedes a fraudulently obtained Enugu order. Anyone who interferes will be arrested for obstruction of justice. Chukwudi's mother's face contorted with rage. "You have no authority here. This is my property." "Actually," Inspector Adelik replied, pulling out documents, "this property was purchased with money embezzled from government contracts, which makes it subject to asset forfeiture under Nigerian law. So, technically, as of 3 hours ago, this house belongs to the federal government. You're all trespassing." The security guards looked at each other, clearly wondering if they were about to lose their jobs and possibly face arrest. They stepped aside. I carried Zainab and held Kayamika's hand as we walked past Chukwudi's mother. The old woman's eyes burned with hatred. But she didn't move. Even she knew when she'd been beaten. "This isn't over," she hissed as we passed. "My son will destroy you for this. Your son is being arrested at Murtala Muhammad Airport as we speak." Inspector Adelik informed her, attempting to flee the country with forged travel documents. "He'll be in custody before sunrise." We drove back to Lagos in silence. My daughters fell asleep in my lap, exhausted by the night's drama. Adiz held my hand, and I finally let myself cry. Tears of relief, exhaustion, and grief for the life I'd lost and the uncertain future ahead. 3 months later, I sat in Barrister Okonkwo's office again, signing the final divorce papers. Chukwudi was in prison awaiting trial for fraud, bribery, and manslaughter in connection with the inspector's death. His assets had been frozen, his business dissolved, his reputation destroyed. Ngozi had testified against him in exchange for immunity. She'd moved back to her family's village with baby Chukwumika, trying to build a life away from the wreckage of her mistakes. My mother had called to apologize, though I wasn't ready to forgive her yet. Some betrayals took time to heal, but my daughters were home. They were in therapy, processing their trauma, learning to understand what had happened without drowning in blame or shame. They knew their father had made terrible choices, but they also knew that wasn't their fault. And me, I was learning to be Amara again, not Chukwudi's wife, not a victim of domestic betrayal, not a woman consumed by revenge, just Amara, a mother, a survivor, a woman rebuilding her life one day at a time. I'd used the money from the divorce settlement, what little remained after the government seized most of Chukwudi's assets, to open a small publishing house, finally pursuing that dream of working with stories, helping other women tell their truths. My first publication was a memoir titled, "He Kicked Me in Front of His Workers." It became a bestseller across West Africa, sparking conversations about domestic abuse, infidelity in marriage, and the courage it takes for women to leave toxic relationships. Sometimes Late at night, I wondered if my revenge had been worth it, if destroying Chukwudi had been justice or just another form of violence, if my daughters would have been better off with a father in their lives, even a flawed one. But then I remembered that school building, those 200 children who'd been evacuated before it collapsed, the inspector's widow who'd wept with gratitude when she learned her husband hadn't died in a random accident but had been murdered for his integrity, a truth that had finally been acknowledged. I remembered all the other women who'd reached out after my story went public, sharing their own experiences with cheating spouses and emotional manipulation, and families who chose power over truth. And I knew it had been worth it. Not because revenge felt good. It didn't. Revenge felt like ashes and emptiness and Pyrrhic victories. But because speaking truth, protecting the vulnerable, and refusing to be silenced, that felt like justice. And justice, unlike revenge, was something I could teach my daughters to be proud of. My phone buzzed. A message from Kayamika. "Mommy, I'm writing a story for school about brave women. Can I interview you?" I smiled, typed back, "Of course, baby," and looked out the window at Lagos, the city that had broken me and helped me heal, all in the same breath. The story wasn't over. Healing never is. But for the first time in a long time, I was writing the narrative of my own life, and that, more than any revenge, was a victory I'd been searching for all along. Thank you so much for watching this story. If you loved Amara's journey, smash that subscribe button and turn on notifications for more powerful stories. Drop a comment telling me, what was the most shocking moment for you? Would you have done things differently? Share this video with strong women in your life who need to hear this message. And remember, you're stronger than you know, braver than you believe, and you deserve a love that doesn't require you to shrink yourself. Until next time, stay strong, stay blessed, and keep fighting for your truth. Don't forget to like this video and check out our other stories about resilience, revenge, and redemption. God bless you all. Thanks for watching.